Mm. Things work out best for those, get this, who make the best of how things work out. Things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out. Our quote for today comes from John Wooden. John Wooden was one of those iconic college basketball coaches who was able to take a team that should not work, that should not chart, that should not medal, that should not get the championship, and make them stars. John Wooden was a coach who did not just talk about, just cycle rates in terms of how they're running down the court and the way that they dribble and the fundamentals of a bounce pass and a chest pass. John Wooden was somebody who understood that true greatness came from unlocking the secrets of the mind. So my follow-up quote, I'm going to repeat his quote again, is things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out. So my follow-up quote is, your actions will follow what your mindset has decided. The term is, let's make the best of it. Let's make the best of it. When my brother got his first car, I was 15, he was 16. He got an 84 Nissan Maxima. And we did it was brown, had a tan interior. It wasn't the greatest, but man, let me tell you, we loved that car. And because he had that car, one of our neighbors had an 82 Nissan Maxima. An 82 Nissan Maxima along with a head, right? Now the engine has the whole engine, but the bottom part of the engine is the head. And he had the 82 Nissan Maxima and the head. That 82 Nissan Maxima did not have an engine. The seats were not bolted in. In fact, some of them were not there. It had no entertainment system. The rear shocks were shot, meaning if you hit the gas, the rear shocks would just kind of boom, hit the ground, and it almost scraped on its way. And so we pushed that car over to our driveway. My dad wanted the car because it came with a spare engine. In case something happened to my brother's car, he would have parts from this one to recreate that one. And I remember sitting in that car, the 82 Nissan Maxima. In fact, it was 82 Datsun Nissan Maxima. I remember sitting in that car and just kind of dreaming a little bit. And then one day my dad saw me doing that. He's like, "You want this car?" And I said, "Yeah, I want this car." He's like, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, I would love this car." He's like, the car's got no engine, Kirk. The car doesn't even have seats in there. You're sitting on the ground. And I was like, "Well, if we go to the junkyard, just take me to the junkyard maybe once or twice a week, and I'll try and find different pieces." And I'm going to tell you, the age 15, my entire year between when I turned 15 and when I turned 16, I spent time along with my dad rebuilding that car. Rebuilding that car. I remember going to high school with that car. I remember driving up to Orlando, which was about an hour and a half drive, with that car. I remember going to, social events. You can read between the lines, with that car. I remember picking up, some young ladies in that car. Car was, we called it smoky. It was silver. It didn't really have a sheen to it. The paint job was just kind of gone. That's why we called it smoky, because it wasn't quite silver and it definitely wasn't gray. It was kind of a smoke color. We had to bolt the seats back in. I found an entertainment unit from the junkyard and put that in and got that working and then bolted in some speakers here or there. It was a Frankenstein, but I love that car. I love that car. And I remember a good friend of mine, his parents had given him a brand new Toyota Camry. At the time, it was the bubble one. The one that had the light. Anyway, you guys get the point. And whenever we'd go places, he'd be like, "Kirk, let's take your car." And I'd be like, well, you have a brand new Toyota Camry. Why don't we take your car? And he said, man, we just have way more fun when we're in your car. Because from the moment that car was donated to us, from the moment I sat down on the floor in what is supposed to be the driver's seat in that car, I decided we were going to make the best of it. Your actions will follow what your mindset has decided. When we were in South Africa, we had our salary was the equivalent of about $700, 700 US dollars. We had 2 old cars that always needed some work. We would go places and people would literally all around us speak in either Tswana or Zulu or Xhosa. They would speak in these languages because we blended in. We looked like everybody else. The assumption was that we spoke it too. And there were times where we would sit in places, in church and different places, and we didn't have anybody to talk to except for those who were around us. But we made the best of it. As a higher ed CIO and CTO in 2 different institutions, I had small teams, large deliverables. In both places, we got hit with ransomware. In both institutions. And in both institutions, we made the best of it. In the first institution, we got hit with ransomware, and that hit with ransomware was the impetus for us overhauling everything, redoing the network, putting in safeguards. My colleague would say to me, you never let a crisis go to waste. At the second institution, I after we recovered from the ransomware attack, I put together a 5-year plan, submitted it to administration, along with my 4-week resignation. I gave them 4 weeks. President was so upset she wanted me gone that day. And so the HR department said, you've got to go. They closed my accounts. They had to call my team to tell them to close my accounts. So I was gone. And I had a 4-week head start on launching my business, because your actions will follow what your mindset has decided, because things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out. I chatted with my colleague who ended up replacing me at the last institution, and he called me to tell me he had followed every step of the 5-year plan that I put in place, because they were willing to give him anything he wanted because I resigned. Because I resigned, it opened the door for him to do all the things that we had planned, because things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out. And that 4-week paid head start that they gave me on launching my business and launching into content creation and launching in my YouTube channel and launching all of the things that I currently do in remote production and coaching, that 4-week head start paid was what is exactly what I needed to put the building blocks in place to create a viable business. Every single day we leave our homes, we do not know what is going to happen in the course of the day. We don't get to decide if the tire blows out, if the child forgets their lunchbox and you have to turn around, go home, get the lunchbox, take it to them at school. We don't get to decide if they do layoffs. We don't get to decide, the price of eggs and milk. We get to decide, however, our mindset. If you're constantly picking holes in things, saying to yourself that it's not perfect, not how you planned, or not good enough, then you'll never be happy with the outcome. Sometimes the outcome is just different to what you expected. And different, my friends, isn't worse. It's just different. And we have the awesome opportunity to decide every single day what we have the awesome opportunity to decide our outlook. And that decision, in a lot of ways, determines the outcome. When we're in South Africa, on that $700 a month salary, we were, with those 2 broken down cars, we were able to travel the entire continent. Malawi, Mozambique, Angola, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Uganda, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, Ouagadougou. You guys, we traveled literally everywhere. We drove the garden route, which is from Port Elizabeth in South Africa all the way around to Cape Town. Stuff that people have never been able to do because we made the best of that situation. When people hear us talk about South Africa, they think it was all good. There were times where it was rough. There were times where we had to question whether or not this was the right move we made. But because we set our mindset towards making the best of the situation, there are positions and opportunities that I'm currently in now. Had I not served as a missionary before, those opportunities would never have materialized. Because we get to decide our mindset in every situation. Your boy John Wooden, basketball coach, says, things work out best for those who make the best of how things work out. And that, my friends,